Hare Krishna. So today we enter a very powerful doorway, the Uddhava Gita. The verse before us is short, but it's like a spiritual lightning flash. Krishna is telling Uddhava that the world perceived by the mind, speech and eyes and ears and other senses is temporary. And the mind imagines it to be real under the influence of Maya. Now, at first, this can sound like a philosophical abstraction. But for Uddhava, this instruction is not abstract at all. See, Krishna is about to wind up his manifest earthly pastimes. And the Yadu dynasty, his family is about to disappear. The city of Dwarka will be swallowed by the ocean. And so Uddhava is not asking a casual question in a classroom. Last Sunday we discussed his questions. And now he's standing in the emotional shock of imminent separation from Krishna. He knows it's going to happen. You can imagine how shocking that can be. So Krishna's answers, it's not merely this world is false. It's deeper. Krishna is teaching Uddhava how to survive this separation without losing the spiritual vision. So, if Uddhava sees events only through the senses, then all he will see is catastrophe. He's preparing Uddhava, Krishna. So, if Uddhava sees through devotion, then he will see Krishna's perfect arrangement, Krishna's continued ownership, Krishna's inconceivable will, and Krishna's eternal reality behind all these temporary appearances. This is also our question. We have duties, we have families, we have service, we have health concerns, financial pressures, and world politics, and temple politics, social identity, honor, dishonor, success, failure. These things dominate our consciousness. Krishna, here, he's not asking us to be irresponsible in dealing with these. We have to deal with them. He is asking us here to not mistake the screen for the substance. In all these things, there's always some substance. That is Krishna. The senses present one layer of reality, but the Bhagavatam trains us to perceive the eternal reality underneath it. So we should be able to see that through all our experiences. So our class today is about learning to live in the world without being hypnotized by the world. So we'll begin with the brief overview of the whole Uddhava Gita, so you get a sense where this verse sits in its proper theological context. Then we will unpack Krishna's diagnosis in this verse. What is that? The senses, they gather temporary data. The mind organizes that data into a world of meaning. And then Maya, illusory potency, persuades us to worship that constructed world as very meaningful, as the ultimate. It's not meaningless, but it's not the ultimate. And finally, we will ask the practical question: how can progressive devotees perform duties? How can we speak, serve, manage, relate, and even suffer while seeing Krishna in everything and everything in Krishna? And that's what this is about. So we'll talk a little bit about the Uddhava Gita before we go into the verse. Many devotees know Bhagavad Gita as Krishna's instruction to Arjuna on the battlefield. The Uddhava Gita is the other Bhagavad Gita. It's Krishna's instruction to Uddhava at the end of his manifest pastimes. If the Bhagavad Gita teaches us to act in crisis, the Uddhava Gita teaches us how to see in separation from Krishna. It is very tightly linked to what we cultivate under Mahaprabhu's lineage. So this setting is dramatic. The burden of the earth has been removed. The demons have been wiped out. Krishna's mission has been fulfilled. The Yadus, although they appear to be Krishna's own family, they're about to be withdrawn by Krishna's arrangement. And Uddhava, one of the closest devotees of Krishna, he's sensing this impending departure. He can't bear the thought of staying in the world without Krishna's presence. So he says, Krishna, please take me with you. I don't want to be here. But what does Krishna do? He does something very profound. He doesn't simply, okay, come. He doesn't pluck Uddhava out of the world. He gives Uddhava the vision by which Uddhava can remain in the world without being spiritually defeated by the world. And this is a very relevant point for progressive devotees. Sometimes we think the solution is to escape the problem, escape the tension, escape the institution. Krishna often gives a deeper solution. Remain, but see properly. Remain. Serve, but don't become bound by the crushing dualities. Feel the separation, but turn that separation into deeper remembrance of Krishna. So the Uddhava Gita then unfolds through many extraordinary teachings. Krishna speaks of renunciation, the limits of our senses, the nature of the modes. Notice the modes. He talks about modes in the Bhagavad Gita also. Then he talks about the path of bhakti here in the Uddhava Gita. The condition of our conditioned souls, us. The role and the work of the Guru, that's covered nicely. Then he talks in depth the Avaduta Brahmana. The Avaduta, it is 24 teachers. It's quite expansive. The difference between material, spiritual vision, the devotee's relationship with this world that's temporary but still connected to Krishna. How do we see it? So, all these chapters of Uddhava Gita, the great invitation is what? Absorption. Krishna isn't just teaching Uddhava how to analyze Maya. He's training him to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness so that Maya loses its power to define the ultimate reality. That's why these chapters, they deserve our full eagerness, our full focus. Because they're not only philosophical, they are existential, they're heartfelt. They're for devotees who love Krishna like Uddhava does. They're for devotees who serve Krishna, who suffer in this world, who face difficulties and still need to learn how to see everything as Krishna's energy and everything as Krishna's arrangement. It's hard to do actually all the time. So as we study the Uddhava Gita, right, over this next chapters, let's not hear as collectors of interesting points, but let us hear as souls receiving Krishna's final words of guidance, his concluding remarks on this planet and this plane, and how to remain Krishna conscious when everything else externally is changing. So we'll read the verse. This is 11.7.7. Yadidam manasa vacha chakshurbyam shravanadibhi nashvaram grihamanancha viddhimaya manomayam. My dear Uddhava, the material universe that you perceive through your mind, speech, eyes, ears, and other senses is an illusory creation that one imagines to be real due to the influence of Maya. In fact, you should know that all of the objects of the material senses are temporary. Purport? The question may be raised that since we find good and bad qualities throughout the material world, how can Lord Krishna advise Uddhava to see everything equally? In this verse, Krishna explains that material good and evil are a creation of the illusory energy, just as objects of a dream are a mental creation. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Lord Krishna is actually everything, because he is present within everything, and everything is present within him. Krishna is Savaraloka Maheshwaram, the Lord and proprietor of all the worlds. To see anything separate from Krishna is illusion, and attraction to any kind of material illusion either good or bad, is ultimately useless, since it obliges the living entity to continue wandering in the cycle of birth and death. Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, and touching constitute the activities of the 5 knowledge-gathering senses. Similarly, the voice, the hands, the legs, the anus, and the genitals constitute the 5 working senses. These 10 senses are organized around the mind, which is the center of material activity. When the living entity desires to exploit matter, he is covered by the 3 modes of nature. Thus, he concocts different philosophical, political, and social explanations of reality, but never understands the absolute truth, Lord Krishna, who is beyond the contaminated perception of the material senses. One who is entangled in the network of material designations, such as race, nationality, sectarian religion, political affiliation, etc., is absorbed in the experience of combining his body and other bodies with material sense objects, thinking these sense objects to be sources of happiness and satisfaction. Unfortunately, the entire material world, along with the senses that experience it, is a temporary creation that will be annihilated by the time potency of the Supreme Lord. Despite our foolish hopes and dreams, there is no actual happiness on the material platform. The real truth is not material, nor is it temporary. The real truth is called Atma, or the eternal soul. And among all eternal souls, one is supreme. He is called the personality of Godhead, and his original form, he is known as Krishna. The knowledge-gathering process culminates in perception of the inconceivable, the transcendental form of Krishna. One who is not perceiving Krishna in everything, and everything in Krishna, is undoubtedly on the platform of mental concoction. In this verse, Lord Krishna warns Uddhava to remain clear of this illusory platform of existence. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnana-Janashalakaya Chakshunamitam Yana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. I was born in the darkness of ignorance. I offer my obeisances to the lotus feet of my spiritual master, who has opened my darkened eyes and filled my heart with transcendental knowledge. I further offer my obeisances to all of you assembled Vaishnavas and seek your kind blessings and permission that I may read Srimad Bhagavatam. Let us talk about the verse itself now. Krishna says to Uddhava, Yad idam manasa vacha. Yad idam manasa vacha chakshurbhyam shravanadibi. That the world we are dealing with is the world as processed by the mind, and it's expressed by the speech, vacha, seen by the eyes, chakshurbyam, heard by the ear, shravanadibi, and so on. Adibi means so on. This is very important. Krishna is not saying that nothing is happening. He is not denying the experience. We do see, we hear, we speak, we think, we remember, we react. The point is that our instruments of perception are not absolute. They are limited. Our senses are conditioned. They're unstable. And they're colored by desires. The eyes don't simply see, they select. The ears don't simply hear, they interpret. Our speech doesn't simply describe. Our speech shapes reality. And the mind sits in the middle as the great editor. It takes fragments of sense data, constructs a meaningful world. This is mine. This one is enemy. This is what success looks like. This is what humiliation looks like. This is pleasurable. This is a threat. This is permanent. This is my identity. This mind is constantly doing this. And Krishna uses the word what? Nashwaram. Nashwaram. It's an important word. Temporary. Whatever is presented through these instruments is subject. It's nashwara. It's subject to what? Subject to change, to decay. Reinterpretation. We'll reinterpret the whole thing from a different angle. It's changed. And it's subject to destruction. The face changes. Look at our photographs, old photographs. Our faces have changed. The body changes. The institution changes. The economy changes, sometimes dramatically. Relationships change. Public opinion changes dramatically. The same event that looks like a disaster 10 years ago now looks like a stroke of luck or mercy. The same praise that felt so important yesterday feels utterly meaningless tomorrow. Then comes this very devastating phrase, Maya Manomayam. It is imagined to be real by the influence of Maya. See, the mind under Maya doesn't just experience the world. That's just a part of it. Our mind absolutizes the world. This is everything. It turns temporary impressions into final conclusions. Our mind is really good at that. No, this is important now. It says, it tells us, this is who I am now. This is what will save me. That is what will destroy me. This is my permanent happiness. Or this is my permanent tragedy, trauma. Nothing is permanent. Even our traumas are not permanent. So Krishna is beginning Uddhava's education here. This is opening verses, right? By first purifying his perception. The devotee, he's saying, must learn. I should not just immediately bow to the first reality that my mind presents. I should ask, is this Krishna's reality? Or is it my miserable conditioned mind's story? That's the question. The purport. This is from the purport. It begins with a subtle question. We look around the material world and we see good and bad qualities. Some things are pious, some things are sinful, some people are gentle, some people are harsh and cruel. Some situations are favorable, some are dangerous. How can Krishna advise to see everything equally? The answer is not that morality is irrelevant. Yes, there's a duality in morality. When we're practicing devotional life, morality matters. It's important. Dharma matters. It's important. Our behavior, Vaishnava behavior, it matters. Compassion matters. Responsibility matters. We don't use this non-duality language to justify our laziness or justify abuse, injustice, insensitivity. That's a misuse of philosophy. The point is that material good and material bad, when seen as separate from Krishna, when it's not part of the whole Krishna framework or a progressive devotional framework, they both belong to this dreamlike field of Maya. A pleasant dream may feel better than a nightmare, but both of them vanish when we wake up. A golden chain looks more attractive than an iron chain, but both chains can bind our hands and bind us and keep us away from Krishna because they're chains. This is why advanced devotees, they're able to hold two levels of truth simultaneously. Yeah, they work in both fields simultaneously. On the functional level, we choose sattvic conduct, mode of goodness conduct, over tamasic conduct, over mode of ignorance. We choose these, even though it's a duality, right? Sattvic and tamasic. But we choose sattva. We choose truth over lies as devotees. We choose compassion over cruelty. We choose service over exploitation. We choose purity over indulgence. But then, isn't that duality? See, on the ultimate level, we know that even material goodness cannot satisfy the soul unless it's used to connect to Krishna. So, this understanding protects us from two extremes. One extreme is worldly absolutism. What is this? This world is everything. This favorable situation, this will be my shelter. This material success will prove my worth finally. That relationship is my ultimate security. That's too much investment in the world of temporariness. The other extreme is irresponsibility that comes from pseudo-transcendence. It's all duality, why does it matter? So then I'll justify my misbehavior. Everything is Maya, nothing matters. Who cares? I say lies, truth, who cares? It's just Maya anyway. Krishna consciousness is neither extreme. We act responsibly, but we don't become hypnotized by these temporary categories. Queen Kunti is a perfect example. She experienced calamity, but she saw Krishna. Uddhava is being trained for this vision. The world will soon appear to collapse around him, but Krishna is teaching him how to wake up from this dream without abandoning service within the dream. Yeah. Wake up while still acting the dream. What an amazing analogy. Then, an important clarification is made here. When Krishna tells Uddhava to know the sensory world as temporary and Maya Manomayam, he's not asking Uddhava to become emotionally numb. See, in this equal vision. He's not saying nothing matters. Nobody matters. Our suffering is unreal. Who cares? No, in fact, devotees feel deeply because they see everyone as part of Krishna. The difference is that they do not let these temporary dualities become the supreme authority in their consciousness. These things have to be kept separate. They can respond. Devotees respond to suffering of others, but not be spiritually crushed that they can't even approach the Lord anymore. They can accept success, but they don't worship this external success. They can endure failure, but they don't define their self as failures. They know eternal self is Krishna's child eternally. Failures are temporary. They can work in institutions. They can work in families. They can work in communities. And they get titles. You get titles, you're in charge of this, in charge of that. But they do not think that those designations are the soul's ultimate reality, even within a spiritual organization. This is where progressive devotees need special care. Sometimes, because we are experienced, we're responsible, engaged in many services, we do absorb other people's anxieties. It's inescapable. It's part of nature. We absorb other people's anxieties. We have our own. And then we start thinking in terms of winners and losers and camps and opponents and reputations and narratives. We may be doing service, but the inner OS, our operating system, becomes material duality again. And we start operating from that point of view. So Krishna is asking us to step back repeatedly. Do it again and again. And keep asking, what is the eternal substance here? Even in the midst of my work, in the midst of my seva even. Where is Krishna? What is my service really? What is my attachment? What is my fear? I'll give an example. In temple management disagreement, for example, the material mind sees that, it's my side, it's their side, it's my group, their group, my dignity, their fault, my influence, their agenda. The Krishna conscious mind asks, how can truth, compassion, and humility and service be preserved in this conflict? What would please Srila Prabhupada? What will protect the devotees' hearts? Where is my ego making the issue darker than it has to be? You have to ask it. This is a sign of an advanced, progressive devotee. There's a finer vision. So equal vision means we respond with discrimination, with discernment, but from a deeper center. We don't flatten good and bad. We relocate them. Material good and bad, they're not the ultimate truth. Krishna's will, Krishna's presence, and Krishna's service, those are the ultimate truth. Now, the purport gives a positive vision. Vasudeva Sarvamiti. It's not enough to say that the world is temporary. If you only say temporary, the heart becomes dry, the heart becomes dismissive, even depressed. The Bhagavatam's conclusion is not emptiness. The conclusion is Vasudeva Sarvamiti. The purport quotes Bhagavad Gita, Vasudeva Sarvamiti, that Krishna is everything. Not that every object is identical to Krishna's personal form in some kind of simplistic way, but that everything acts or exists within the framework of Krishna's energy. Everything rests upon Krishna's potency. Everything is owned by Krishna. Everything is pervaded by Krishna's presence. And everything can become connected to Krishna through proper consciousness, proper application. This is the key difference between the impersonalist detachment and devotional detachment. Both are detachment. Impersonalists, they see the world as false and they want to negate everything. The devotee sees the world as temporary but belonging to Krishna. Devotee doesn't look at a flower and say, it's gonna wilt anyway, so what's the point of doing anything with it? No, devotee says, this flower, let's offer it while it's fresh. It's temporary, while it's fresh and nice, let's offer it to Krishna. I'm going to die anyway, what's the point? Useless life. No. While I'm alive and while I'm still a little somewhat fresh, let me offer myself to Krishna, you see. Devotee does not exploit it, this world. The devotee does not worship the world or despise the world. The devotee offers this energy to Krishna, whatever resources we have at our command. When the purport says that seeing anything separate from Krishna is illusion, this is practical. My body is not separate from Krishna, so I should use it in Krishna's service, not abuse it. My speech is not separate from Krishna, so I should speak the truth. I should be kind when I speak. I should speak katha and necessary service-related communications. My home is not separate from Krishna. So it can become a place of hospitality, place of remembrance. My work is not separate from Krishna. So it can become an arena not just to make money and offer to Krishna, but it's an arena to exhibit and develop our integrity and our sense of contribution and make genuine friendly connections with genuine people. Bring genuineness in your work. At the same time, because everything belongs to Krishna, nothing is mine for independent enjoyment. This is a double-edged vision, right? Nothing is rejected when connected to Krishna, and nothing is enjoyed independently when disconnected from Krishna. So we don't disconnect anything from Krishna. We have to connect in a meaningful way. That's why this Uddhava Gita is not world-denying in a crude kind of sense. It's world-purifying. It's world-offering. Teaching. This is a teaching of Krishna. To see through these temporary appearances. What is eternal? The owner is eternal. The enjoyer is eternal, Krishna. The witness, Krishna, he's eternal. And the beloved, the soul and Krishna, they're eternal. Now, the purport explores a very interesting angle too. It becomes concrete. It says if you're entangled in the network of material designations like race and nationality and sectarian religion and political affiliation and so on, you become absorbed in these bodily connections. And become absorbed in material sense objects. This is quite a modern section of the purport. We may be Indian, American, Kenyan, male, female, parent, manager, temple president, disciple, guru, professional, or citizen, or community member. So many designations. These labels may have some duties attached to them. The problem becomes when the label becomes the self. It becomes our shelter. It becomes the basis of either fear or sense of superiority. Maya is expert at weaponizing designations. She tells us, you are this body. You are the color of your face. You are this hat that you wear. You are the colors of your flag. Therefore, protect this story, this narrative at all costs. You are your nation's pride. The nation's pride is your pride. You are this political camp. You are this institutional role. Therefore, criticism of this role is criticism of your existence, and so on. This creates endless agitation. Even devotional designations could be misused if they are disconnected from humility and service. I am senior. I am initiated 2 weeks before you. I am a leader. I am learned. I am from this group. I am from that lineage. These service identities, they can be purified, of course, but they can also become subtle bodily extensions if they feed our pride, if they feed comparison, sectarianism. So Chaitanya Charitamrita reminds us what? Jivera Swarup hoy Krishnera Nityadas. Real identity is servant of Krishna. All these other identities are temporary. They're uniforms for service. You take off the uniform when you get home. It's useful when you perform your duty. The uniform is not you. It's disastrous if we think the uniform is fused to our skin. So, a progressive devotee can ask, which designation is currently controlling my consciousness and taking me down the lane of selfishness? Which label am I defending more than Krishna's pleasure? Which worldly identity makes me angry, afraid, feel superior, insecure? His question is not comfortable, but that's what Krishna is inviting us to do. Step out of the comfort zone. Ask the liberating questions. He's asking us to step out of this network. Then he talks about the time factor. This is one of the most sobering parts of the verse. Not only are the objects of the senses temporary, the senses themselves are temporary. Time is the supreme auditor of material hopes. We may present a beautiful narrative to the world, my career, my family, my property, my image, my accomplishments, my smartness, my influence. Time quietly asks us, how long? How long are you going to have this? It's not meant to make us morbid. It's meant to make us truthful. It's a sobering truth. Something is temporary. It can be used. It can be appreciated. You care for it. You offer it. But don't worship it as a final shelter. And we tend to do that. We demand permanence from temporary things. And when we do that, suffering becomes inevitable. Bhakti does not deny time. Bhakti transcends time by connecting the temporary to the eternal. And that's the whole point. A flower offered to Krishna with devotion is going to wilt. But the devotional act that places the flower at his feet, that act is eternal. The body used in service grows old, but the service purifies the soul. The words we're speaking right now, they'll disappear into the air, gone forever. Right? But they awaken eternal remembrance. So, time is terrifying only when we are trying to build eternity out of matter. It's terrifying. But time is purifying when we let it push us toward Krishna, the big wheel of time. It's crushing everything. This verse is not anti-knowledge. It's purifying the goal of knowledge. Purport says that real truth is not material or temporary. The real truth is the Atma, the soul. This is important for progressive devotees. We know this. We've heard it how many times? Millions. But especially those who like philosophy, management, strategy, psychology, theology. Analysis is useful, but analysis is not the goal. The goal is Krishna. Analysis supports, bolsters the understanding of Krishna. The senses collect information, the mind organizes it, our intelligence evaluates it, our scriptures correct it, and Guru and Sadhu illuminate it. But the culmination is not merely, now I understand the categories where I'm going to file it into different cubby holes. No, that's not the point. The culmination is, now I see Krishna more clearly. Now I want to serve more purely. Now I see my relationship. Now I'm less deceived by temporary appearances. That is the culmination of this whole knowledge process. Not simply being satisfied that now I've filed everything away, I know where everything belongs. See? This is where this Srimad Bhagavatam is different from this dry metaphysics. Krishna does not want Uddhava to become simply a metaphysical analyst of illusion. He wants Uddhava to become absorbed in him, be Krishna conscious. The more we perceive Krishna, the less Maya can dominate our perception. Maya doesn't necessarily disappear from the environment, she's always there, but she loses the authority over your heart. So in our reading of the Bhagavatam, we can ask, did today's reading make me more opinionated or more surrendered? Did it make me more informed or more transformed? Did it really move my heart? Did it make me feel more superior or more dependent on mercy? The knowledge that culminates in Krishna will produce humility. It produces steadiness, a steadfastness. It produces affection for devotees and detachment from false shelters. So let us conclude. Krishna's instruction to Uddhava is both radical and compassionate. Radical because it challenges the entire structure of our ordinary perception. And compassionate because Krishna is not just criticizing the conditioned nature. He is giving Uddhava and all of us a way to cross that illusion. See, we're dreaming here, and in our dream we do so many things. We're succeeding, we're failing, so many things are going on. But the Bhagavatam wakes us up. It doesn't say nothing exists. It says Krishna exists eternally. The soul exists eternally. Devotional service exists eternally. Everything else must be understood in relationship to Krishna. That's why the purport ends with the warning. One who does not perceive Krishna in everything in Krishna is on the platform of mental concoction. It's a strong statement. It means the mind can be following religiosities, religious, philosophical, political, emotional, managerial, and even apparently spiritual. But still, it's concocting if Krishna isn't really clearly in the front and center. And for progressive devotees, the challenge is more subtle. We may not be chasing crude sense gratification or breaking the principles, but we may still be chasing control, recognition, sense of security, ideological certainty, institutional identity, or we want to be vindicated emotionally. Why are these things dominating us? These are refined forms of Maya Manomayam, that line in the verse. Maya Manomayam, this Maya dominating our mind. Krishna is inviting Uddhava and inviting us beyond this. So as we continue into Uddhava Gita, let's become more eager. Krishna will teach us. He'll teach us through nature, through this Avaduta. It's a nice chapter. Through the modes, through renunciation, through bhakti, through profound psychology of the conditioned soul. He gets really deep into it. I mean, we're just scratching the surface over here. But the foundation is here in this verse. Don't trust perception that is disconnected from Krishna. So let our closing prayer be this. My dear Krishna, my senses report one reality. My mind constructs another reality. Please let this beautiful Srimad Bhagavatam reconstruct my vision. Let me see your presence properly. Let me see your ownership, your mercy, and your invitation everywhere. Let me see it everywhere, wherever I look. Let me act in this world and not be owned by the illusion of this world. Let me live inside your story, not Maya's story. So, thank you very much for your kind attention, your valuable time. Jai Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. I think it's almost time for darshan. We can have some conversations after darshan.
Welcome to the Afterglow. Would anybody have a question, comment? Gail, Mother Gail, please go ahead.
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm always astounded by, did I meet myself again? No, I'm always astounded by the clarity of your presentations, but it was like every class I'm more amazed than the last. But one question, and I also love that line, are we being informed, just informed, or transformed? That was great. Anyway, my question is, it's a long-standing question actually, about the eternality of our acts of devotion. So when we say that our acts of devotion are eternal, we may offer a flower, but the flower wilts, right? But the act of offering that flower is eternal. And is that because of the purification of heart that act engenders, or is it something else?
Yes, it's a good question. What does that mean? Because the flower that we offered is going to wilt. Next morning is like different, it's gone. It's a good question. It's a very beautiful question. The flower wilts, the agarbatti, the incense, it burns out. The diya lamp we offered disappears, the flame disappears. The fruits and so on that we've offered, that gets distributed and eaten. The temple floor, after shining it and buffing it, gets dirty again. So what does it mean that our devotional acts are eternal? Of course, we know it doesn't mean that the material object remains. We know it's not going to be forever. The physical flower is temporary. But the devotional intention, the service connection, and the pleasure given to Krishna is not lost. Krishna enjoys that pleasure. He does. You see, in material life, an action produces a temporary result, then disappears. I work, I earn, I enjoy, I become tired. Again, I need more. But in bhakti, even the smallest of acts becomes connected to the world that is eternal, because Krishna is eternal. Service offered to him enters an eternal relationship. So when the devotee offers a flower, several things happen. 3 things happen. The flower may wilt. The body that offered the flower will one day disappear, 100%. But the soul's loving gesture toward Krishna becomes part of the soul's eternal spiritual history. The history of that. The record is permanent. You see, Krishna never forgets. That's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Neha Bikram, even a little bit of progress saves you from fear. But he also says, Patram Pushpam Palam Tayam. If you offer me with love, fruit, flower, and so on, if you offer me with love and devotion, I'll accept it. His acceptance is eternal, that record. You know how we have a criminal record and so this is a permanent record and sometimes get expunged? The record of serving Krishna never gets expunged. It's Krishna never forgets. In fact, one of Krishna's qualities in the nectar of devotion is Kritagya. Kritagya means Krishna is grateful. The word in Sanskrit for gratitude or grateful is kritagya. But in Sanskrit, if you take it apart, krita means you did something, and gya means he knows, he remembers. He is aware of what you did for him. Then it becomes one word called grateful, kritagya. So he never forgets what you did, and that record is what makes it eternal. He doesn't say, I accept the market value of the flower. He says, I accept the bhakti that came with the flower. You see? He didn't say, okay, this flower, at ShopRite cost, $1.99, so that's what I'm going to accept. He doesn't do that. Right? He says, Yome bhaktya prayachati, with bhakti. In fact, he used the word devotion, bhakti, twice in that little verse. You see? So the eternal part is my eternal self turned toward my eternal Lord in loving service. That moment purifies the heart. It gives us a glimpse of eternality. It strengthens our identity as Krishna's servant. And the strengthening is also very powerful. It creates a credit that never gets destroyed, even if the act seems very tiny. And that act, the record, can come to rescue in the future. Krishna remember, this soul, he has done so many sins and so much, but that one time he offered that flower to me, and that overrides everything else. The other things are, you see. If Bhagavad Gita, if you read the introduction, Prabhupada says there are 5 topics in the Gita. Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, and Karma. Ishvara is Krishna, Jiva is a soul, Prakriti is a spirit, material nature, Kala is a time factor. He says karma. Out of these 5, 4 of them are eternal. 1 is not. Our karma is not eternal. So karmic record is now going to be held against us. So Krishna doesn't care about our karmic record at that point. He cares about that one thing you offered to Krishna. That is in the realm of spirituality. That is eternal. That flower you offered. You see. So that is the whole point. In our example, a child gives a small crayon drawing to the mother. The paper may tear, the crayon may fade, but the mother's heart always embraces the love behind that drawing. The value was never in the paper or the crayons. The value was in the relationship. And that's what matters. That's what's eternal. Is that okay? Yeah.
That was so beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Adi, do you have anything you'd like to share?
Hare Krishna. Well, Prabhu's classes are just breathtaking. We're so grateful. It's very soothing. Even the sound of his voice is very pleasing. And what does it say? Satang prasangan mamabirya banbido bhantvikadrishaya. The discourse given by the pure devotee is very pleasing to the ear and satisfying to the heart. There is a question we have rattling around this week. 2 devotees, 1 guest, actually 3 devotees, were asking roughly the same thing, but it's kind of off topic, so let's see if anybody else has something to say.
We can do off topic. It's off topic Sunday.
Well, Venu Maduri was asking recently, well, we were in a discussion, and some people were saying, well, if you're initiated and you made a vow to follow 4 regulative principles, but you're in the context of a marriage and maybe you're not following exactly only for procreation, so what is our category? And then another person was asking a very similar question about how 2 people told me, I'm having trouble following the regs. And then I was reading one thing in the Bible. This is a little bit elaborate, but I'm sure you'll clarify everything after you hear all this. One thing in the Bible says, a sinful person is one who delights in sin. So there's a distinction between somebody who might happen to have a mishap and somebody actually who is relishing and looking forward to and elaborating on some kind of degrading activity. So it seems like there are the regulative principles. Like Dhanur Damar said that thing. He was going through the toll booth and he said to the toll man, I think I'm lost. And the toll man said, either you're lost or you're not lost. Either you're following the principles or you're not following the principles. But I'm asking you, like, if you could say something about this gray area where you're people are really, they've made a vow and they're trying to follow, and there's some lack of excellence, but still, they're not like, they're sad about some kind of falling short rather than delighting in sin. Anyway, I'm sure you can say something on this subject. I just threw out a bunch of, but it seems like 3 or 4 people asked me the same thing in this last week, so I was thinking, well, okay, Madana-gopāla will clarify.
Very high, very high expectations. I don't know if I can clarify much, Prabhu. I'm quite muddled in my own brain anyway, so I can offer what I understand. And this is, thank you for bringing this up. This is a hard one. It's actually a delicate and important question. It's a very important question. Now, of course, for initiated devotees, the vow is clear. There's no ambiguity in the vow. Okay, that's important for us to stay right off the bat. Okay, the vow is what? No illicit sex. I'll just give you an example. You know, we have, if you're familiar with the Bhakti Vriksha model, that's like a global standard. There's like Bhakti Vriksha where you have home gatherings and you preach, and there's a whole very systematic, structured system, right? Where we encourage people, regular folks, to try Krishna consciousness and then make small baby steps. So the idea is to gradually get them to the point of where they're ready for initiation. But we recognize the baby steps. So somebody says, I'm going to start chanting 1 round daily, okay, for the next whole year. Every day I'll chant 1 round and I'll give up meat or something like that, I'll follow 2 of the regular principles. Something. We give them a certificate. You are now Shraddhavan, you have faith. So you get a certificate. This is like you've taken your baby step. Then this next level, is a 4-rounder, and you follow more strictly and you come to the temple more. And then like the third one is, okay, no intoxicants, I'm going to give up tea, coffee, tobacco, and I'm going to stay faithful to my spouse, and no extramarital sexual relationship. You see the difference? There's no extramarital, but it doesn't say no illicit sex. There's a difference there, right? So, but that baby step, we recognize it. This is great. We bow down to you. We give you a certificate with a name on it, with a level that you've now come to the point of 12 rounds and doing practically almost all of them, right? So we acknowledge, recognize the importance of that step. So it's a very powerful process, and it's a very successful thing. If you come to Tobacco Temple every Gaura Purnima, we have like 20 people in the front with their certificates, and we make them take the vows in front of the deities. We do a whole presentation. Really nice, And then when they're ready to understand, okay, what this means, then they get initiated. So for the initiated devotees, the vow is clear. Srila Prabhupada generally defined illicit sex as, he defines the vow as the only time you can have sex is within marriage for the purpose of begetting Krishna conscious children. So we don't blur that standard here. The standard is meant to protect our consciousness, deepen our self-control, help the disciple become serious about going back to Krishna. Okay. At the same time, now this is where we talk about at the same time, right? There's a subtle distinction between sinful in the broad moral sense against the initiation vow and not favorable for bhakti. They're related, but they're not identical. Sex outside of marriage is clearly sinful, exploitative, and outside dharma. It breaks trust. It breaks trust in the whole institution of marriage. It ruins the social peace. It agitates the heart. I mean, even if you don't think of Krishna consciousness, think of Christian, Muslim, doesn't matter which religion. It's always condemned, no matter which society you're in. Even in a atheistic secular society, most people condemn if you go outside your commitment to your vow. So that's, not good at all. That's considered sinful, right? Now, sex within marriage, within a committed relationship, it's different. It's within a dharmic relationship with responsibility, commitment, sacred obligation is there. So Prabhupada at times made a distinction. It's on the record. Devotees have testified that sex within marriage is not the same category as gross illicit sex outside marriage. It's not adultery. It's not prostitution. It's not predatory. It's within a sacred household framework. Okay, and sometimes Prabhupada said, like, there's actually a devotee who wrote Prabhupada that he's going outside, to see other women. He pays for them, right? And Prabhupada said, why are you doing that? Well, he said, well, I took the vow of no illicit sex with my wife, and so I don't want to pollute the whole house. Prabhupada said, no, what's your wife for? Work it out. You have a sacred relationship. You're breaking that bond, the commitment that you made to your wife of faithfulness. That's part of the package. You can't be doing that. It's like gross sin. And Prabhupada said, it's not sinful, but it will not be good for your spiritual life if you keep pursuing it. So try to come out of it, okay? So for an initiated disciple, the vow is more elevated than this ordinary dharma. Initiation isn't merely, I'm going to be a decent moral person now. It's way more than that. Prabhupada didn't say, I expect everybody to be initiated. No, he did say that we see in the future the vast majority of our devotees will not be initiated. The vast majority. They'll come, they'll take up Krishna consciousness, they'll be congregation members or whatever, they come to the temple, they'll learn Krishna consciousness. He didn't expect the vast majority to be initiated in the future. There's letters to that effect. So this is the point to understand. If you want to be initiated, you got to understand what you're committing to. You don't have to be initiated to be considered a devotee. That's the point. You can still chant your 16 rounds. You can observe all 4 regular principles, maybe 3 out of 4, and the 4th one you can just have it within marriage. It's okay, but you can't initiate it. That's the only thing, right? So the initiation is a vow to regulate life for the purpose of pure devotional service. Therefore, even within marriage, sex that is not meant for procreation is generally understood as not following the vow properly. We understand that. Even if not in the same moral category as adultery or exploitation. So there's a spectrum. Okay, we gotta understand there's a spectrum. Everything comes with a spectrum. Spectrum is like this: gross, sinful sexual activities, outside marriage, adultery, exploitation, casual sexual indulgence. This is clearly destructive. It's against dharma, it's against bhakti. That's gross. That's the lower end of the spectrum. Then there's dharmic, but materially binding. That's the sexual relationship within marriage, with the sense of mutual respect and responsibility, but not for producing Krishna conscious children, not for producing children at all. This may not be sinful in the same gross and moral sense, but it still, deepens our bodily identification.
Can I offer a quote from Srila Prabhupada?
Yes, please.
It's kind of a simple statement. It said, better a meat eater in the house of Veda than a vegetarian without any religious principle. Did I quote that right? In other words, in the house of Veda, it means there may be, killing a goat and saying the mantra, you can kill me next life. It says that that's better than being a vegetarian who isn't following. But better a meat eater in the house of Veda. You heard that expression before?
I have heard something similar, but it's in a different context where he actually praised some Catholic monks, where he said that they're observing their celibacy strictly, even if they're eating meat, that's okay, but they're actually at a higher level than those who are vegetarian and not, and exploiting the world for sexual pleasure. So he did make that comparison.
That's very helpful. There's a spectrum, and we have to remember what the ideal is and strive for that.
Yeah. Another quote is that it's better if the man falls within his own fort, in the sense that, if you fall and trip and fall in your own fort, in your own castle, it's okay, but rather than falling outside and, that going out. He made that point as well, because that your own wife or your own husband, they protect you. They protect you, even if it's within the institution of marriage. It's protective. They protect you from going off the other end. That's why it's very much exalted. Like even in, say, Christian traditions, a person who's faithful, they're very much exalted. It's wonderful that you can be monogamous. Otherwise, the tendency is to just go out and exploit the whole world, right? So this discussion is very can get very subtle. There are many examples, there are many angles, but this is a general gist of it. We don't want to blur the concreteness of the vow, right? So the spectrum that I was talking about, there's the dharmic but materially binding. Then there's regulated grihastha life according to the vow. And then there's even higher than that, where the husband and wife gradually become intimate spiritual companions and have completely reduced their bodily demands. There's absolutely no no contact in terms of, for bodily, satisfaction at all. But they become very close to each other in serving Krishna.
Service relationship. So what about, we know there are some initiated disciples that are not heterosexual.
The same thing applies. His Holiness Hridayananda Maharaj has talked extensively on this. It shouldn't really matter. The same thing applies means there's nothing wrong with relating to somebody. But if we relate to somebody for the purposes of exploiting their bodies, then that is wrong. It's as simple as that. Whether the person is homosexual, heterosexual. Of course, in the homosexual context, it's not possible to offer that by producing children in that sense, right? And so, they give up. Those who do take initiation, even though their orientation may be a particular way, they give up, they become celibate. Yeah.
It seemed like that.
Yes.
I know.
And Prabhupada initiated so many. I mean, quite a few, at least even to some who were quite openly gay. And he did give initiation. Some, I think one he even made a sannyasi. Of course, later on he gave up the movement, but Prabhupada's point was he was very liberal in that regard. He didn't hold it against somebody. He did write some letters that I'm very sad to see that you have now gone into exploiting your body and becoming more, when someone deviated. But he did give shelter, knowing fully well their orientation, including initiation, including sannyas. So, Prabhupada, thankfully, has given us so many examples. Sometimes that can be even more confusing because now, okay, that's one example, but then in this case he did something else, and this, so we can apply different things that way. But the idea is that let us tax our brains and apply the intelligence with as much holistic understanding of the scripture, as much holistic understanding of Prabhupada's mood and mission as possible, and apply our own heartfelt compassion in any situation to help the person feel encouraged. Even if someone is initiated but they're having difficulty now maintaining the vows, that person needs support and encouragement as well. So.
The goal is to know what's right and do your best.
Yeah.
The Bible, he's outside the temple and he's looking in. And way up in the front, there's a devotee who's saying, I fast twice a week, I always give donations, I come to the program every day. I'm glad I'm not like that guy outside the door there. And outside the door, the man who's looking in, he says, Lord, you know me, I don't follow very carefully. I'm trying. I regret that, and I wish I was a good devotee like the one up in the front. And it says that the Lord was more pleased with the one on the outside than the one up front. He was thinking, I'm better than that guy. Krishna sees the heart. And we have
that's a perfect example. It's because where's the consciousness? The consciousness of the guy inside is on the sins of the outside guy, whereas the outside guy, his consciousness is on the purity of a great devotee. And so where do they end up? Where your consciousness is.
Krishna was pleased.
Yes.
And anybody can please Krishna. Anybody can please Krishna. That's the funny thing about Krishna.
Yes. The hard part is understanding, was Krishna pleased by my act? The measurement is Krishna pleased, but then how do I know Krishna is pleased? What is the confirmation? You see, that's the hard part. Yes, thank you, Prabhu. Venu Madhuri Mataji, please go ahead.
Yes, I just, my false ego wants to set the record straight that I had asked those questions that Adi was referring to on behalf of other people.
I always ask hard questions on behalf of others. That's part of my magnanimity. Joking.
Yes, yeah. I mean, Adi even mentioned this has been asked by several different devotees, so he did mention that as an opening caveat.
Yeah.
I know what. Sorry, Narottam Nitai.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Narottam Nitai's hand was up for a second. I was going to call upon you. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So no, I struggled a little bit with this because how can I say? So we have two different prayers, like Shastakam prayers. We have to say Janam Nasundarim, right? In the sense, from idealistic perspective. But and then we have in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna is also known as Dhananjay. So in the sense of striving to like, make an earning, I guess, or make a live, like make some more money, just for the sense of like, being able to propagate Krishna consciousness and just, like living our lives. I feel like there's like a catch-22 that happens sometimes for devotees where like, it's like we want to earn money, but then we also were tempted at that time too, especially as neophytes, or maybe even like not even neophytes. So I just wanted to just to clarify that, like, um,
Sorry, we're tempted by what?
just in
Tempted
the
to do what?
sense, yeah, in the sense like to use the money for Krishna service, right? Instead of like, and especially if you don't have, if we're not used to dealing with money beforehand. Like for example, there might be some people who know how to like manage their money, have different bank accounts, and allocate money for this, that, and the other. I'm just saying. So like, I guess I just wanted to ask Prabhuji, like, is it okay for like devotees to say, okay, let me try to earn more money, and then once then I'll like allocate maybe 50% for Krishna consciousness. You know what I mean? Um, I mean, what I'm just trying to say is like I personally struggle with that, and I've also had like difficulties because like sometimes I'm surrounded by people who care, but as also like too many opinions can also like jar our judgment and our actions too. So I just wanted to kind of like ask about that because I know when it comes to like doing things to make a living, sometimes you have to just do it and without speaking much about it as well. So I just wanted to ask that because um I personally don't have much money, but it just like, yeah, like if we are trying to go down that route of just being able to do so, how do we do it without having all these like um stumbling blocks along the way, so to speak? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Narottam Nitai Prabhu. This is a very good question, and it's not always easy. And you gave us some good examples, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he says, "Na dhanam, na janam sundarim." I don't want wealth, and so on. And then Arjuna, on the other hand, is known as Dhananjaya, one who wins wealth, and he's also a pure devotee. It's okay. You ask, is it okay to want to make money and give it to Krishna? It is okay to strive to make money and give to Krishna. Of course, it's okay. But the consciousness, the method, and the attachment matter very much. There's the consciousness, one, the method, and the attachment. Those are three things you have to evaluate. It's a little more nuanced than just making money or not making money. So a modern worker, someone's working in the modern world, they shouldn't think that money is Maya, and therefore I should be careless, or poor, or irresponsible, or even unambitious, materially speaking. Krishna does not teach laziness. Arjuna was not told to abandon his responsibility. He was told to work in Krishna consciousness. So earning money can be devotional. How? When? When does it become devotional? When it is honest. The work has to be honest. You can't be a blackjack dealer. Blackjack dealer may seem like an honest living because you're just getting a wage, but it's not an honest industry. Very heavy. The industry itself is a cheating kind of industry. So work has to be honest. Income should come through dharmic means, not cheating, not exploitation. Or intoxication, cruelty, manipulation, slaughtering animals. It has to be honest. Or also, you don't want to compromise your integrity. Something that involves cheating people, scamming people. There's hundreds of people who go to call centers, and the whole call center is a scam center where they try to scam people to give their money. It's awful. And they clock in, they clock out, they get a paycheck and everything. It looks like an honest living. It's not. You're scamming old people in America out of their life savings. It has to be honest work, one. Two, the motive is key. There's a difference between I want money so people respect me and I need money to maintain my family, serve devotees, support preaching, give to Krishna, use my talents responsibly. These are two different motives. It's not just for respect and show off. No, the same job can bind different people differently. One is purifying, the other is binding. And 3, you have to make sure the earning method does not destroy your sadhana practice. In the pursuit of the job and the money, if it eats up all our time for chanting, no time for reading or hearing or joining this class, or at least once in a while, no time for getting to with family, doing kirtan, sometimes go to the temple, no time for health, no time to exercise a service mood, then the money has become the master. We have to have time and energy left over for sadhana cultivation. That's important. Another important point. As an earner, when you give to Krishna, you don't just give symbolically, you give meaningfully. It's not you give Krishna a little token of coin after you've served every personal luxury. Try to see if you can cut your luxuries. Give when it hurts. Sincere devotee asks, what portion of my energy, my income, my skill, my influence is being offered? It's a meaningful, I saw one time this lady in India. This was just a young. She's in India, very rich lady. She came in this nice Mercedes car and stepped out, and she stepped out, and then she went to a restaurant, and then she gave hundreds of rupees in tips, and then she would go and buy so many cool fancy bags and handbags that cost thousands and thousands of whatever dollars, and then she goes to the temple, and in the temple she takes out from a nice $1,000 handbag a coin of 1 rupee and puts that in the temple, because that's symbolic. That's what you do in temples. You don't give banknotes to temples, you put coins in there. It's not meaningful, right? We don't want to give symbolically, we want to give meaningfully, if you really want to go that route. And one remains detached from the result. A devotee may work hard, negotiate well, like I said, keep multiple bank accounts, build wealth, be competent. But internally you must know, this is Krishna's energy. I'm not the proprietor, I'm the steward. Use everything as much as possible in Krishna's service. Of course, the danger, like you said, and you're right, the temptation, like you said, I'm making money for Krishna, can become very convenient cover for our greed. And our heart may secretly want that comfort and status and admiration, while the mouth says it's all for Krishna. So that's the test, and that's the test is internal. All right, bro. Anyway, earn strongly, live cleanly, give generously, stay spiritually connected. Don't worship money, but don't neglect the power of money in Krishna's service. All right?
Yeah, I think
in summary.
Yeah, and I think that one of the main things is, as for me especially, is to maintain the relationships especially with the devotees and family, while going through the various changes of acquiring knowledge and doing work. I think that's the main thing, because Haribol, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, and chant loudly. Yes, Trupti Mata, you've been waiting for a while. Please go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Gurudev. My humble obeisances to you. Madanvat Pranam. Hare Krishna to all dear devotees. Thank you so much for wonderful class. Each class and each conversation, each discussion, it tops the last one, and we're really enjoying it. I just wanted to clarify a little bit when you said about how do we know when you're doing service to Krishna, devotional service to Krishna, and how do we know Krishna is pleased or how we pleasing Krishna? My understanding is that how things come favorable in our favor for devotional service, to do bhakti or do sadhana, or that you please, like say, if this morning when I dress Krishna, my Madana-gopāla, and when I look at him and I say, I know you are happy, I can see you happy, I know you like this dress, and those kind of feelings, is this the way to feel? Is this the correct way to understand that Krishna is happy with you, what you're doing with your sadhana, with your bhakti? And another thing is that what you said about the flowers in my garden, I have so many flowers, and when I take them and I offer them, and then they wilt next day, and I have to remove them, and I just feel so sad. And then I started putting them in the water now in front of Krishna, just leave them there so they last longer. And because the fragrance is so beautiful. So what you explained is so perfectly that we have to, even our body wilted away and withered away, we still have to continue do the service, not thinking anything else. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Gurudev. Hare Krishna.
Yes. Adi Purush Prabhu always says Krishna has to be pleased. That's the main criteria. Krishna has to be pleased. But the question is, how do we know Krishna is pleased? Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam, of course. He said, I'll accept it. Krishna is pleased when there's sincere bhakti. Well, how do I know there's sincere bhakti? How do we recognize it practically? There are some measurements. There's a barometer we can actually use. This is found in the scriptures. We have to look for these signs. The signs are in our heart. Am I becoming more willing to serve? Has it increased my willingness, like excitement, my eagerness? Even when there is no recognition. Like, will I serve even when there's no recognition? If my joy is shifting from do people appreciate me to was Krishna served properly? We're moving now from people appreciating me to Krishna being served properly. That is one sign that Krishna is pleased. If we no longer care of being appreciated. Yes, we value being appreciated. If it happens, we appreciate the appreciation. But it doesn't bother us so much. That's a sign that Krishna was pleased. Because now, it's like saying, how do I know all this working out in the gym I'm doing, it's working? Well, before I couldn't lift 20 pounds. I could only lift 5 pounds. Now I can lift 20 pounds. That's a sign. There are certain signs. So certain signs here in Krishna consciousness is, do people appreciate me? Does it matter that people appreciate me? Like internally? Then you know you make progress. Second, am I becoming less proud? Am I becoming less possessive? Krishna purifies us. The whole point of serving is purification. And sometimes that purification feels like being humbled, corrected, delayed, or control being removed. Yeah. Krishna's pleasure does not always feel like material success. Sometimes his pleasure appears as spiritual surgery, which is a little bit painful for us, but it's good for us. Can we handle that? Another very good way to measure is, am I becoming more attracted to hearing, chanting, more attracted to spending more time with devotees? Of course, it doesn't mean you have to love every single person as a devotee, but am I attracted more to devotional service with certain devotees? That's good. Am I being attracted to spend more time with certain devotees because they are going deep in Krishna Katha? That's a good sign. Am I eager to do more service, but meaningful service? Am I feeling drawn more to Krishna and less hypnotized by the world? That's a hopeful sign. These are signs of how Krishna is. This is how you can see. Then another one is, are Guru, Sadhu and Shastra aligned, or are they kind of seeming satisfied with the direction in which we are moving? We want to be careful not to invent our own private idea. Oh yeah, Krishna, look at the way you're smiling. You must be pleased for me. No, maybe not. We don't know. You see, we can do weird things and look at Krishna smile and think he approved that weird thing. You have to be careful in that route. You see, that Krishna must be pleased with me. Krishna reveals his pleasure through Guru, through other Vaishnavas who are advanced and progressive, and through Shastra. When you read the Shastra, you're like, oh, I should not have done like that. That's Krishna telling us, So like that. If our life is moving in harmony with all these three, then we can have more confidence that Krishna was pleased. And ultimately, when we start feeling more dependent on Krishna and less entitled, mature devotees don't think, I did so much so Krishna must reward me. No. Rather, Krishna, whatever I have offered, it's tiny, but please accept it. And I'm depending on you for your mercy. That mood is very pleasing to begin with, and as that mood becomes more natural, if it becomes more natural to us, then we know Krishna is pleased. See, so the rewards are here. Just like in the gym, the rewards are in your muscles. So rewards are here. It's not in the equipment. You see, that's how you see it. All right, and that's enough for a sincere devotee. That we can't know completely whether Krishna is pleased. We can't be that presumptuous, but we can know whether we are trying to please him. least we can know, am I becoming a little bit more sincere, a little less duplicitous, a little less self-deceiving. Okay, Hare Krishna. We've gone
Thank
quite a
you.
bit over time. So once again, my obeisances, thank you for your wonderful questions and comments. And I look forward to seeing all of you again next time soon. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.